my gosh. Oh.
It seems like everywhere you turn these days, people are taking the plunge into ice baths, cold showers, wild swimming, and other forms of cold water therapy. Popularized in the 2010s by the Dutch guru Wim Hof, it has now gained a degree of acceptance amongst the medical community, who point to benefits in blood circulation, muscle recovery, anti-inflammation, and mood boost. But subjecting oneself to extreme conditions goes back for thousands of years as part of religious traditions that include self-flagellation, walking on coals, and other extremely painful practices. Known as ascetics, these adherents have used these rituals in order to loosen themselves from material attachment and to gain a mastery of the mind over the body. Since our physical selves are only fleeting, then enduring physical pain is a way to remind ourselves of what's eternal and real. These practices are most prevalent among the Eastern traditions, some indigenous tribes, and Christian monks. But what about the Jewish tradition? Does the Torah give any legitimacy to these extreme behaviors? Or is there no place for a denial of the flesh in a culture that loves a hot bowl of matzo ball soup? Here's the Mensch Sense take. Judaism certainly has a reputation for embracing the pleasures of the physical world. Jews work in mainstream professions, are largely welcoming of modern technology, and the Jewish holiday calendar almost necessitates a supreme love for large quantities of food. Perhaps the only publicly known instances of Jewish denials of pleasure are the rare fast days such as Yom Kippur and the 9th of Av. There does exist a strand of Jewish asceticism where some of the most pious people of past generations took upon themselves extra fasting and similar types of deprivation. However, by and large, religious Jews today have not carried on this tradition. The reason for this apparent lack of extreme rituals is based on a fundamental Jewish tenet. Most religions emphasize the soul as more important than the body, and the afterlife as more central than this world. They are what the philosophy professor Christopher Baki described as the up and out religions, where the whole goal is to leave this physical reality.
All the theologies that came out of those religions were basically theologies of escape. They were cosmologies of up and out, what I call an up and out cosmology. So you achieve salvation, you're saved of your sins, or you achieve realization, your enlightenment, and then you no longer have to be here.
But the Torah instead focuses on our physical reality as the main arena for spiritual development. The majority of the biblical commandments focus on actions instead of ideas, things like giving charity, eating kosher food, and building a sukkah. This is because the physical world is seen not merely as an evil source of temptation, but more accurately as a sacred tool for elevating our bodily selves. Rather than escape the world, the Jewish people want to show that the physical world is holy too. Thus, food and other types of physical pleasure are not meant to be shunned, but rather respected and utilized for higher means. That's not to say that all indulgence is good for you. It is entirely possible for a person to drown in addictive pleasures or the pursuit of money and comfort. In these cases, a healthy dose of deprivation might be necessary. The 11th century rabbi, philosopher, and Dr. Maimonides gave a useful analogy. Similar to physical health, spiritual health requires balance. If a person is out of balance, he or she might need medicine in order to restore that balance. But if a healthy person were to take that medicine, it may actually harm them. It follows then that according to Maimonides, too much time fasting or sitting in ice water may actually harm an otherwise healthy human being. And so the Jewish answer to ice baths might be a definitive no for most people. However, it's worthwhile asking what we mean by a healthy, balanced human being. In the 21st century, we experience more overeating and indulge in far more comfort-seeking than ever before in human history. This has led many experts to suggest that it is our addiction to comfort that has made us both physically and mentally unhealthy. Indeed, many cold water fanatics have testified that it's not necessarily the physical health benefits that attracted them to ice plunges. Rather, it's the ability to train themselves to once again live with discomfort, as most of our ancestors once did. In light of this, it's possible to say that when human beings lived without modern climate control, coil mattresses, and an overabundance of calories, the Torah would consider ice baths to be totally unnecessary. But today, in order to counteract the malaise of comfort addiction, the ice bath might be just what the doctor ordered. And that makes mensch sense.